Hello, it's Dr. Garth Fisher with The Cutting Edge. And today, my guest is not just a world class surgeon, he's one of the most quietly influential humanitarians I've ever known. He practices plastic surgery at the highest level in Zurich, Switzerland, and all around the world for more than 30 years. I've had the privilege of calling him not only my colleague, but a close friend. Beyond the operating room, he is the founder of an extraordinary humanitarian organization that deploys mobile hospitals into war zones, treating the wounded on both sides of conflict, guided by medicine, not politics. His work is consistently taking him into some of the most dangerous places on earth, driven by a simple but rare principle that human life is sacred no matter what the uniform is. Years ago, he was recognized globally as one of the most inspirational people in the world, ranked alongside world leaders and visionaries, not for fame, but for action. He's a plastic surgeon of exceptional skill, integrity, and conscience. It's an honor to welcome my friend and colleague, Dr. Enrique Steiger. So nice to have
Hi,
you
Garth.
here. Good to
Hi,
see you.
Garth.
And
Thank you.
you're not in Zurich now, you're in a mountain. You're in a great place in Switzerland where we'd like to go skiing probably.
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me to your show. I send my warmest wishes to California, back to California, and I'm looking forward to our conversation.
Yeah, you have a lot to inspire people and share, and your story is just so engaging and amazing. So let's start with before medicine, before humanitarian efforts and work. Who were you? Who is Dr. Enrique Steiger, and what first pulled you into surgery and plastic surgery?
Actually, I wanted to become an engineer and build rockets at our MIT in Switzerland. But one day I was admitted to a hospital and I was deeply impressed about the surgeons when they came in. Everybody was nervous, and the surgeon was the calmest person in the room, very relaxed. And I said, "Wow, this is God. This guy
Yeah.
really really impressed me at my very young age," and said, "I want to become something like that." So I changed my career from becoming an engineer and building rockets to becoming a doctor.
Gosh, well, you picked the best field for you because you're so talented, and I respect you so much. But I'm wondering if maybe you would have moved Elon Musk over with the rockets. You might even be further than him along. So I don't know. But I'm glad you're a plastic surgeon. Was there a specific moment when you realized surgery alone wasn't enough, and then you started, wanting to serve beyond borders?
Actually, this was a pure coincidence. At my age, I was around 27 years old. You know, we in Switzerland, we are a conscript army. You have to go and you have to join the army. At that time, I was at the level of a captain, and I was at the Air Force. And they asked me to join a mission, the first Swiss UN mission ever, and this was in Southwest Africa, Namibia, to be the head of a 150 person, big command of a 150-person unit, a medical unit in the northern part of Namibia, southern part of Angola. And unfortunately, I said yes because I wanted actually to do a sabbatical. I wanted to go to Caribbeans to do a sailing trip or something like that. But this came in between, so I said, why not go to Africa? And I had these movies out of Africa in mind. I thought this is something very romantic,
Right.
but I really got a reality call once I arrived because all of a sudden a fight brought out, and the South African Defense Force was fighting against the SWAPO rebels who came in, crossed the border, shot them. And they came exactly to my field hospital and asked me for help. And so we started to treating them as young boys, 27, 24, 28 years old. We took everything into our hands. So we actually protected them, which was actually against our UN mandate, but we didn't know that. But a New York Times reporter who came by was deeply impressed with how we helped the local population, not only the UN soldiers, because the UN people were healthy. We had nothing to do there for them, but all these soldiers were wounded, and so we took care of them. And I actually even made a New York Times headline. At least finally, UN is doing something useful in Africa.
Right.
So this was actually the start, and I really liked it. I loved, and I saw that I have one of the few talents I have is to bring order into chaos. And I
Yes.
liked it. And from there, it went on. Then after that mission, the UN asked me again to go to to other missions as well.
Well, it's I want to go through the whole evolution of this because where you are now is just amazing. So that was a great starting point, and the process is just captivating. I want to get into that, which I will with some other questions with you. But that's where it started. That was 27 years ago, and now you're world-renowned plastic surgeon that everybody respects. I admire, and so, do you believe, with taking that into account, because you're thrown on the ground in the middle of nowhere and trying to take care of these people, do you feel that surgeons are made by training or are they revealed by crisis? And then
You need
How did Bruce Cannell influence you? Because I know we trained with him, the best facelift surgeon ever lived, in my opinion.
Um, I worked not only for Bruce Cunella, I also worked 4 years for Ivo Pitangui in Brazil, which was number one at that time. And Ivo actually sent me to Bruce Cunell.
Right.
So I really was privileged to be trained by the two best plastic surgeons on the planet. But that was really a privilege. And I think my humanitarian, that I was engaged in the humanitarian field, I think that helped that they accepted me into their program because you remember how selective both were,
Yes.
and so we were really blessed that we were accepted that. And both of them encouraged me to do that. I remember I had to go to see Pitangi because I told him I have to leave the course for 6 months because I was asked by the International Committee of the Red Cross. There is a genocide going on in Rwanda, and they didn't find any doctor around the planet who was free and willing to go there. I was working in Brazil at that time and I had no clue what actually was going on. And I said yes, but when I arrived in Paris, where the plane landed and I had to continue there, I saw all these newspapers with all these dead bodies, with these bodies lying around. I said, "Oh my God, what did I get myself into it?" And they wanted to actually send me back in Geneva because said you have a family. This is a very dangerous mission since Cambodia. You can go back. Say, listen, I traveled half the world. I will not go back. Sent me there, and so I went there. And from then on, I mean, this was probably the most traumatic experience I've ever had in my life. And from then on, I never could actually go back to a normal life, playing golf and things like this. I'm stuck till today in that pose, in this PTSD from that time.
I've always known you as kind of an adrenaline junkie. I wouldn't even say that's the right term, but you like excitement. You like being in the middle of the fire. You thrive in that, and it's made you stronger. I'm here with Dr. Enrique Steiger in Zurich, Switzerland, and he's one of the most outstanding, well-known plastic surgeons in the world, and he's also a fantastic humanitarian, which we're going to, get into that story with Swiss Cross, etc. What led you to find, when you founded Swiss Cross, how did that idea come up and how did it become a functional reality?
After Rwanda, I was actually in total, I was about 22, 23 conflicts around the planet, always sent out as a freelancer, actually. And in many ways, I was in Rwanda, Liberia, Sierra Leone, all these places, and I saw that the biggest problem was there was no kind of protection for civilians in war zones. People, women, and children were raped and kidnapped and killed. And I always had the idea coming back even from Rwanda, said there must be somebody who protects these people. And I came up with this crazy idea to build a kind of humanitarian police force or protection unit, which would actually be sent on the order of the United Nations. And I thought my country, Switzerland, which is neutral, impartial, and independent, and never had actually a colonial or imperialistic history, would be the perfect candidate for that. Unfortunately, till today, I never could convince my government that would actually be a very useful and very intelligent part to use our military service, especially the special forces which I served during my young age, that would be actually kind that Switzerland could contribute to international crisis globally. But from there on, I created Swiss Cross and tried to convince other governments. And in the end, I started a program for when I became a reconstructive surgeon for plastic reconstructive surgery, a training program globally for conflict zones, because I realized to get a foot in the door, I was respected as a doctor and as a professional. To get a foot in the door, I have to convince the best plastic surgeons and friends of mine to come and join me and start training programs in conflict areas. And we started one in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, and they're all very successfully. And the goal was actually that we train them for 5 years. Then we have specialists, local specialists, medical specialists, and then they don't need us anymore. They continue without our help. We always gonna mentor them. And this already worked out in Syria, and this already worked out in Iraq. The government liked our project so much so that they fund it now forever. And so I belong to one of those very few NGOs on the planet who is not dependent on US aid, which was cut the fundings, by your president and other organizations like the United Nations. So we're completely independent, and all our programs are financially actually more or less safe for the next couple of years.
Full autonomy, and I know that knowing you, you're like the most honest, most ethical human being there is. And this has been going on 27 years, and I know I've been friends with you that long, and I would call you, and you're on a cell phone. I'm hearing bombs going off in the background and machine guns, and I'm like, "Are you okay?" And you're like, "Yeah, I'm totally fine. Don't worry about this." And your poor wife, what she's gone through, worrying about you, and everybody, all your friends, we always were worried about you. So I'm glad nothing ever happened to you, and good luck to you with all this stuff. What's interesting is you take care of the wounded on both sides, whether it's good or bad. Was that neutrality non-negotiable for you?
Always. I mean, we always follow the motto neutral and partially independent. And without that, I had never, ever, I had a rebel leader or a government who actually told me what to do. Otherwise, I would have left immediately. There is no way that we will treat everybody, every color, every ethnic, every age. We don't care about that. The victims are the ones we are taking care of. And we are doctors. We don't do politics.
Right. Well, I can't imagine the position that you've been in. You've got, one side on the other side on the other. Maybe they're sharing the same tent at some point, but that's just absolutely fabulous and commendable. Have you ever felt like you were in danger? Like really danger?
I think I survived 3 helicopter crashes. And I have been, I think, several times, more than 20 times, guns have been pointed at me. But I always found a way to get out of this situation. And I was really lucky. And I think there is that my destiny is not to, I think I still have to fulfill many tasks in the future. So my time is not done yet. So
Yeah.
therefore, I'm still here. But has nothing to do with luck. Even in countries where people really threaten you, when you convince them what you're doing, why you are here, and that it would be a stupid idea to kill your doctor, which is the only person who can help your family in about 500-mile radius. Nobody's so stupid, believe me, to do that. So that's the reason why I'm still alive.
Yeah, and you've made wonderful friends. This is Dr. Garth Fisher on the Cutting Edge. I'm here with Dr. Enrique Steiger, one of the most amazing plastic surgeons and humanitarians in the world. So, getting back to Swiss Cross, which was something that you developed, what's the emotional toll operating in war zones compared to being in a world-class hospital in Zurich? How does that affect you?
Actually, emotional, it's not. I don't get very emotional working on either side, because when I'm in a war zone, we are totally focused on our work, and honestly, we don't have the privilege or the time to think about our emotions. Sometimes you get very emotional when you see how children are dying in your hand and you see desperate family members and things like this. But you always have to keep in mind you're not here. People want to see you strong. You're kind of a limelight. They want to see you holding your position, and you don't show emotions because it's not your war, and you have to focus on what you're doing. People want to see that you focus on your work and that you don't start crying. If somebody would start crying in my team, I would send him home immediately, because people want to see strength, and they want to see assurance that we know
Right,
we get
right.
you through this. This is
They
it.
they
When I
want to be
come back to
confident.
Switzerland, yes, exactly, they want to confidence, and doctors should show that. And if only 1/3 of the doctors I know could use for a mission like this, because 2/3 would probably not stand the ground under these circumstances, would panic or something like this. But the people I've chosen, they come with me, they join me in every ward, in every place I go. When I come back to Switzerland, sometimes I have a bit of problem, especially when my first patient is asking me about, Dr. Steiger, can you correct, please, your Botox? Because there's still one wrinkle there. And I said, yes, but you
Right.
had hundreds before. I said, yeah, but I didn't see them until I see this one. So if you see,
That's
one
true.
time you compare this, then it gets a bit tough. I have to admit this, but my patients pay for my missions, because 20% out of my consultation and the surgery I donate to my to Swiss Cross. So I'm very grateful to my patient if they tell me, oh, Dr. Steiger, I'm really a bit embarrassed. I know what you're doing in a war zone, and I come here asking you for Botox or facelift, and said, please don't do that, because you pay for Swiss Cross. With $500, I can save a child. I can operate him, and he
Right.
doesn't end up as a cripple. He ends up as a normal human being, able to feed his family.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. The whole story is incredible. Have you ever, so you've had guns pointed at you 20 times, you've in helicopter crashes. So most people would be afraid physically, but what about morally? Well, when you're walking into something, has there ever been a time where you've been a little bit afraid morally?
Morality in conflict is something which I try not to think about it,
Not judge.
because I mean, now we work in Afghanistan,
Mhm.
and honestly, I do not, of course, I do not agree with the politics there in every sense. But on the other hand, I think it's their country, it's their decision, and we have to accept that we are guests there only. And they treat us very nicely. Actually, the government is responsible for our security and our safety, our accommodation, and our transportation. I'm the only NGO who is depending on the local government in Afghanistan, and they treat us very well. And we are there neutral, impartial, independent. They don't tell us who we treat and whom, and they respect everything what you do. So you see, um, morality has no place actually in our field, because what our focus is on the victims only. That's it.
Right. That makes sense. Um, when you go into these places, I mean, I can't, I do some surgery outside the United States, and, I have to bring my surgical instruments and, plan all this stuff. I can't even imagine. I mean, how do you pack up for this kind of thing? Do you just, how do you put that together?
Actually, it's not that difficult. After almost 27 years doing that, I got used. I have my minimal equipment, which I take with me, because we surgeons don't need too many things. We need a scalpel, and we need some forceps and a good eye and a good hand, and that's actually
Yeah.
good enough. We have also a cardiac. Swiss Cross is also a cardiac surgical team included, which
Mhm.
does treats congenital diseases in children in Afghanistan. And of course, they have a minimal equipment which we donated to this hospital, and this is a bit high tech. But
Mhm.
we have the motto: "No poor medicine for poor people." So we donate these things to the government, and we work in government hospitals, and they highly respect that, and they highly appreciate that we do that. So everything is possible in every circumstances, but of course we keep it to a limit. We keep it to a limit. We try to achieve the maximum with limited means. And when you do this for almost 30 years, you know how to do that.
How much time do you spend a year doing this?
About 4 to 5 months.
4 to 5 months. And today you're in Switzerland. You're not in one of these areas where we have to worry about anything. You're very
No,
well
I mean,
you're very well hidden.
in my retreat in the mountains, in a 350-year-old house, which
Okay.
I own here, and it's about 6,000 feet and -6 degrees Fahrenheit around. But it's wonderful for ski and sports, and to read my papers and to study my books.
Right. Fantastic. How does surgery change when resources are limited, time is compressed, and lives are hanging by the minutes or seconds?
You have to adapt to the context. Every context is difficult at work. Sometimes, for example, in Iraq, we work in a private hospital, which is quite well equipped. And in Afghanistan, we're working more or less in a, I'd say, train station toilet, something like this. But they try best to make it work, and it's not their fault. It's because they simply are too poor and they don't have the money to cope with it. So we always try other partners. For example, in Afghanistan, we probably will work together with a French team, which has a very nice equipped hospital, and we will rent part of the OT and beds. We rent beds and OT, so to do some very complex cases there and not risk too much infection.
So, in these environments that you're going into, what matters more, technical perfection or decisive action? I mean, it's very high. I know it's high stress.
You need both. You need a technical perfection. You need a lot of experience because I get a lot of requests from young doctors. I gave a lecture about 3 weeks ago in front of 700 young students, and they're very eager to listen. How you become a successful professional at the same time you can do humanitarian work. And I try, of course, when I speak to these young people, I try to convince them to join my line of work because in the future, when I'm gone, I want this to continue. And I had about 10% of the doctors approaching me and asking me they would love to join me on my next mission. And I told everybody the same thing. When you are finished and you've finished your studies, and when you have about 10 to 15 years experience, then please call me and I will take you into
Yeah.
my team. You need a lot of experience. And you know, Garth, we both belong to a dying sort of dinosaurs, which were trained. I mean, before I
Yes.
became a plastic surgeon, I was a trained trauma surgeon. I have a board certified trauma surgeon and a board certified reconstructive. I was
Right.
trained in maxillofacial surgery, burn, hand, everything. These people do not exist anymore. You know that.
They
And
don't
so
have
it's
to.
gone
Yeah. Go. I'm sorry.
and,
Go ahead.
and it's going to be very difficult to find people like that because when you fit in a plane with seven people, you have only seven staff you can take. You can't take every specialist for the left ear and the right ear and the nose. No, you need somebody who can handle almost everything. And this is very, very difficult nowadays. And
Yeah,
I'm
I agree
blessed
with
that I
you.
have this. I'm blessed that I have a team of professionals in my age and even younger who actually fulfill all these requirements.
Well, like you know, we both were in that period of time. I know I was working 140 hours a week, touching the doorknob to my house 3 times a month and operating like crazy day and night, up for 2 and 3 days without looking at beds. And it was abusive, but wow, the training that we got. And then the ACGME stepped in and said, this is abusive. Doctors can work 12-hour shifts, take a day off a week. And, you know, it was great for them. And maybe the patients thought they were getting a better deal. But, you know, I give the analogy that, you know, during our training, it was like Michael Jordan practicing 1,000 jump shots a day, and now it's 50 to 100. And so there's been a weakness in that. And, you know, like you said, you've got to be a fantastic surgeon to be able to drop into environment. And, you know, if you can take care of a gunshot wound, or if they want their eyes done, you can do that at home too. I mean, you facelifting and other things. So yeah, I'm very proud and glad that we went through that. So in another question, Enrique, what has war taught you about human nature and peace that peace never could? You've seen everything.
What war taught me is that in situations, in crisis situation, people stick together. I don't know if you have heard in America about Crans Montana, which had a discotheque who went up in flames, and there's about 100 to 120 severely burned young people. Um, all our hospitals got flooded with these very, very complex cases. As you know, we only can be treated in centers. And what I realized, even in my country, is that when disasters like this happen, people stick together. They help each other out. They give each other comfort. And this is something really beautiful in human nature, and which you mostly find in crisis situation. And the sad thing is, what I always ask myself, do we really have to go through war? Do we really have to go to disasters to realize how human beings should treat each other and respect each other and comfort each other? this is a bit the sad conclusions which I made after 30 years in this area. And I can tell you the other thing is what I realized in war zones is people are mostly happy. Even if they are very,
Yeah.
very poor, they smile and they laugh. And then I come back to my town or to a big city and I see these people are unhappy, are not satisfied with their life. And I say, what the hell is going on? Yesterday, I saw these kids which haven't eaten for a week when I was in Gaza and places like this. It was horrible. And but they always were smiling. They were running behind me. So I gave them a toy. I gave them a sweet, and they had this smile on their faces, which was $1 million smile. And when I
Yeah.
come back to my country, we have everything. You see, these are the things you start respecting, accepting, and this is something I always say I these people give me back as much as I try to give them. It's
Yeah.
always a giving and taking.
One of the best things about, meeting up with you and being your friend is hearing a different perspective, and you always really get me grounded in that from a great place. You're recognized globally as one of the most inspirational people in the world. How did this recognition sit with you personally? I know you're incredibly humble, and nobody would know. You walk in the shadows doing things that should be in the brightest light. But how does that sit with you? The recognition.
Garth, I think you gave me too many flowers, which I definitely don't deserve. And I don't know, recognition, honestly, it's not something which I take personally an interest or I like to be recognized as a professional, as a doctor. I like to be recognized among my peers in the humanitarian field.
Hmm.
Even they sometimes do jokes like, Enrique, great that you came. Unfortunately, we run out of breast implants, but the war is going on. So these jokes, I get used to it.
Right.
But honestly, the recognition, it's not something, you see, I don't deserve this myself. This is always a team effort. And the recognition is my team that deserves that. The people who join me, who believe in me, who follow me, who support me in any way. I mean, I give all the flowers you just handed me over. I, I pass it to them because they deserve it. I'm just the one who connects people together, who brings this together and try do the diplomacy, find the money to pay for all these expensive missions.
Right.
I'm actually the housekeeper in the backyard, but definitely not in the front line and in the limelight. Don't, believe me, I don't see myself that
So
in
you
this
think
way.
that true impact is often quiet, and is it misunderstood by the public, or
No, I think people, of course, young people admire what we're doing and are impressed. Many people are a bit impressed about because we are working focused on not on disaster zone, we are focused on conflict areas, which actually nobody wants to go there in his healthy mind. But this is something which I grew into it by pure coincidence. And, I'm not a Mother Teresa type of, if you would have known me 30 years ago, I would told you I'm not that crazy to go in the war zone. I was really, really by pure coincidence through the Swiss Army, which I ended up in a place which I didn't never wanted to go there, which I never belonged. But I got stuck in it because of all the misery and I've stand at the abyss and I've looked down, and what I saw never let me go again. And that's the reason
right?
I'm stuck in
Right.
this situation, if I want it or not. Believe me, my golf handicap is going to be miserable for the future as it was in the past because I simply don't have time to play golf. I have to take care of other things like this.
You're not good at golf anyway, right?
No.
No, no. Is this recognition ever conflicted with your desire to, work and stay invisible? I mean, has there ever been times when it was just too much, or as far as the recognition?
No, I really try to keep. You see, this is right, my mountain retreat. I try to go
Right.
back and to have my time. I focus on my friends. When I'm not in the clinic like you, we both see many, many people. We get to meet many new people, faces. They're coming from all over the world to do surgery with us. But my happiest moment are with friends like you or spending time with friends like you or with my family. This is actually my books. This
Well,
is
we
where
all
I
enjoy that too. Your clinic is absolutely beautiful and superb, and I know the quality of your results in plastic aesthetic medicine is very well recognized and superb. And I consider you one of the most talented plastic surgeons in the world. And but I love always coming and seeing your office in front of that big, beautiful lake in Zurich, and it's quite expansive. How many doctors do you have in your clinic now?
7 doctors, and we are 52 staff on 1,500 square meters. I don't know how many feet that are, but probably 4,000, 5,000 feet.
So, what is Uda Life?
Uta Life is a new project. This is probably my last big project. And it's about it's a holistic approach of a plastic surgeon, not only to take care of the shell, the beauty, but also of the body and the organs and the health.
Mhm.
You know, I don't like the word longevity because this is really used, abused terms for people who want to make a quick buck on the wishes of, I mean, 9 billion people on this planet want to live longer and healthy. We are more focused on health. And we are focused to do this to accomplish a health extension program in Switzerland and in the mountains, where we try to where we analyze all our patients genetically, immunologically, um, neurologically, hormonally, lab, bone density, everything. And then once we have measured all these parameters, all these little details, we have about 20 specialists out of the box thinker who will help in every patient is different. And the whole project will end up in personalized medicine. What we are doing today is medicine 2.0, which means we are healing and we get paid for healing patients. But what we try to accomplish is medicine 3.0, prevention, to prevent that these
Yes.
people get sick and that our beautiful results stay much longer, can live much longer, and can enjoy them. So at the end of my career, I mean, Clinic Utoke in Switzerland, we're taking care of, we have a great dermatology with the best dermatologists in Europe, I would say so. We have the best surgeons there. We have a very good cosmetic part. And now we have also nutrition and health extension. And we're working together with the because this is all based on science. We really base this on pure scientific facts. And we want to know, for example, if you're swallowing supplements, what of your omega-3 really reaches the organ? What is the effect in your
Yeah,
person?
that's true.
Is it the right supplement for you or not? You see, we really want to go down to the basics, and we really will accompany this patient every 3 months. You get thoroughly tested through all this. And after 1 year, you should personally feel it because I myself tested myself the last 6 years. And I can tell you today, being much older, 6 years older, I have 3 times more energy than I had 10 years ago. So I strongly believe it. And everybody who works with me, and the University of Basel and the University of Zurich, and also Harvard University is joining us in this venture because they said we are the only ones who really follow a scientific path. And we have also a big American fund who is interested in joining our project.
Yeah, there's got to be measurables. I'm here with Dr. Unique. Unique is for sure. He's unique because he's amazing. But this is Dr. Enrique Steiger, who's one of the most fascinating and respected plastic surgeons in the world. And he's formed Swiss Cross and Uda Life. And we're hearing about that. And so getting back to that, I was going to say that, yeah, there's so many people put on so many different, you know, vitamins and supplements, and there's no measurables, and it's just like hope in a jar. And so I'm glad that you have science behind what you're doing, and you're such an exceptionally honest person that you'd be somebody that I would want to follow your advice. How can people get a hold of you and learn more about you and what you do?
I think the
I
easiest
know
part
this
is
is
to
hard
come
for
and
you if you don't want to help people your head website. I know you don't need business, but how would they reach you?
yes, they can reach me over our website, www.clinicutoquai, period ch, Clinic Utoquai. If you put my name, Enrique Steiger, you find me. I think that's
Right.
very easy to find me. And on the other hand, you can contact me by email if you go through our website. That's not so difficult. So
Right.
people who want to see me, they find me, believe me. I have people from all over the world, like they find you,
Yeah.
Garth. That shouldn't be a problem.
Okay. And what
And
stage is? Okay, go ahead.
and
What's
sorry, and Swiss Cross can be found swisscross.org. Swisscross.org, this is our humanitarian part, can be found through swisscross.org.
okay? How far along are you in with this new project that you're talking about?
Since 3 years, we're working on that. And we waited so long because we needed something which is really measurable. And everybody's talking about telomeres in the DNA. And that's not actually, that's very controversial. And we found a system which is, you need a $200 million machine for that. And there's very few people who know this system and know how to deal with it. And it's called ATAC. ATAC is a system where you can really measure on a very, very high accuracy, about 99% accurate, if your cell is getting older, stays stable, or getting even younger. And this means muscle cell, brain cell, heart cells, any kind of cells you have. And these special methods of measurement can prove you at the end of this circle, which you pass through all these exams you do, we can really prove you that you scientifically that you have not aged or even have gone back or gone it or have a or it doesn't work what you're doing.
Is this a blood test or what kind of machine?
Yes, it's a blood test, and you measure DNA. DNA is folding. When the DNA starts folding and really folding strongly, all your supplement all cannot all the molecules cannot connect to the DNA anymore. What you have to unroll it, unwrap it, the DNA, so they can touch this, can make any connection. And this can be measured with a very complicated and very extensive tests, which can only be done by big university or big centers. And we are lucky, a few lucky ones that the team, one of the best immunologists who knows how to deal with this, and his team is actually part of our project.
Do you have this ATAC machine yourself? Is it in your hideaway there in the
No,
mountains or okay?
we have. I would love to have that one, but I have a hyperbaric chamber here in the mountains,
Right.
which Brian Johnson has one, and he told that's one of the best thing he had tested. I will test it on myself. I don't know if it works, but I will test it on myself. But this machine is at the university in Zurich.
Right. Well, I'm sure. I don't know if you need a hyperbaric. You have such clean air there in the Swiss Alps. I'm sure you're doing pretty well, and you look fantastic. You haven't aged at all. So since the last 30 years that I've been knowing you. So switching gears a little bit, you've been this well-known plastic surgeon and talented for so long. I want to ask you what young surgeons misunderstand most about success in this profession.
My biggest concern with young surgeon, and I don't want to talk, and I don't want to be understood like a white old man, because we heard these comments from our fathers and our traders as well, is that what worries me a bit is that young surgeons with a bit less of experience that we had, because nobody is allowed to work those long hours anymore, uh, take everything a bit for granted. They think they're as good, they have the same experience as we had with so many more hours. We worked 120 hours and things like this, and they worked 55 hours here in Switzerland, not more than that. And that everybody wants to have the big, quick success. They want to drive Porsches and things like this. And I say, if this is your goal, become a banker or something else. Sorry, I don't want to insult any banker, but they're all going to the financial industry, and that's probably the way to make if you want for the money. But if your goal is, if you aim higher and you love to work with people, human beings, then you're in the right profession. I would choose my profession again. If I die and I come back to this planet, I probably would become a doctor again.
Yeah,
So
I don't think
what
I
I
don't think
try
we
to,
can I don't think we can generalize, and I agree with you. I just think that it's the way the society is developing, in my opinion, is they're looking for the quick fix, and it takes time and it takes a lot of training, which I think the training is a little different now. There's so many talented and amazing surgeons today. But I think that marketing has played a big role, and it's a little different than when we went through it. And so I want you to go ahead and finish your comment on that, if you would.
As I said, the quick fix is probably the right term, but we don't want to generalize because you're always wrong if you generalize. But this makes me a bit sad, and all young doctors who join me, I say, you need patience. You really need patience. It will take a long time. You have to see many, many patients. You have to get a lot of experience until you really can be assured that you more or less um, understood what medicine is and the challenge of medicine. And still today, after 30 years, I have not learned enough. There's so many more things to learn. And I'm really trying to stay humble. And all our teachers, remember Garth, Ivo Pitanguy or Cornell, they were extremely humble personalities.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because we do things that sometimes turn out very well, but sometimes they do not really accomplish what we actually the desired result, and you have to deal with that. So I think I try to teach to inspire my young people that you're the most wonderful profession in the world, but you need patience to learn that, and you have to have a certain kind of resilience. Don't go for the quick fix. It simply doesn't work in our profession.
That's true. Well, after decades of friendship and shared offices across continents, what do you think sustains long professional relationships in medicine the best?
I think personalities like
Yeah,
your guys, a kind throwing flowers at me for the last 45 minutes. Of course, I love you for that. But no, I think friendship, honesty, integrity, and loyalty. I think this is what makes our friendship and defines other friendship of myself as well. I would say I know a lot of people, but I would say I have a handful really close friends I can rely on, and I'm always enjoying their company and to talk with them.
I feel that's the same way with whether it's business or friendship, and uh, honesty is the most important currency for me in any kind of relationship, whether it's your spouse or your business or your friend, and the ability to continue to evolve is really, really important, and not being stagnant and being around somebody like you that's always evolving, and it's always just such a joy to be around you. If you could change one thing about how the world views humanitarian aid, what would that be?
I think I'm working on that already for the last 10 years. I want to see humanitarian aid as not something where just go over and hand out things like hand out bags of blankets and bags of food. No, this is totally the past. Um, Stop Aid, actually, Dambisa Moyo, an economist from Africa, so Stop Aid. She wrote an excellent book about that. And she says everything about it. What we're doing, you should not take these people for just receivers and you are the donors. It puts you in a different level. You should look at them as equal. When I go into the mission, I always ask the first question is, what do you need from me?
Right.
Because I'm not there to tell them what to do. And most organizations, unfortunately, have done the mistake of
Yes.
we know what to do and we shut up and we do it. But what we do is, what do you need from me? And and I only stay as long as they need me. And the moment you don't need me anymore, I leave.
Hmm.
And humanitarian aid should focus just like a firefighter, helping you to stop the fire and to help you. But afterwards, you help them to rebuild the house, but they have to rebuild themselves. So we focus solemnly on education and training. That's the most important thing. And of course, sometimes you're missing some important pieces like a lab, a functioning lab, and a functioning operating theater. Yes, you can provide them, but this is only on very few things that you do. But what they need most in every country experience is they need our expertise, they need our training, because in many countries in war, the best people leave the country and the rest is stuck with young students who are
Right.
still inexperienced. And I think the whole humanitarian aid industry should actually be just the firefighters for a very short term, and they should have an exit strategy to leave at the right moment. But they're not there to support countries forever.
Yeah,
That's
you're
not the
there to
goal.
help. You're there to help and train, but you're not there to contour their beliefs and how their way of life is, and that's maybe the mistake that other people make. So when all of this is looked back on surgery, Swiss Cross, the risks. What do you hope matters the most?
To leave traces in the sand, I think. I hope that what we started, our new way of supporting the work in the humanitarian field, is that this goes on and that my successors will follow that step, but that other organizations will follow that too, that we learn from our past mistakes. But nobody knows what the future is going to hold for us and how it's going to turn out. So my hope is really that we learn from past mistakes, which we historically never had. We always have a tendency to repeat our past mistakes. But this is still my hope. And I looking at these young faces of my young doctors and looking at their passion and love for our profession, I'm still very hopeful that the next generation is ready to change things like we did. And I have a strong belief that it will turn to the good. I have to be optimistic because pessimism doesn't resolve anything. Only optimist
Well,
drives things forward.
so Enrique, these are things that you hope for, but what gives you hope? What do you see that, when you're coming across this huge variety of personalities and wars and clashes, is there something that comes up bubbling out of the ground? It's like, this is what gives me hope and for the future. Do you see optimism?
I see optimism in the general population, and especially, I can tell you, every patient who comes to see me, so many are donating for our cause. They agree with what you're doing. They're supporting our cause. This gives me hope. It doesn't matter what kind of age they have, and especially when I lecture at the university with young students, I'm always impressed how many volunteers come up and want to follow that work and are interested in the work. That gives me really a big
Great.
hope.
That's great. This is Dr. Garth Fisher. I'm here with Dr. Enrique Steiger, very well-known, very respected plastic surgeon in Zurich, who has started the Swiss Cross, which you need to look into, and you can find him, Dr. Enrique Steiger, on the internet. He's so inspirational. So, other things. What do you do to have fun? How do you enjoy life? Which I know, I could tell the story about meeting you at the Ritz-Carlton Hotel, and we had a race on the beach, and that turned out bad for both of us because I don't think we stretched and warmed up. But you'd rode down there on a motorcycle, and I mean, what do you do to let go and enjoy yourself?
Actually, what I do most, what I love most is besides reading books, is enjoying sports. I live here in the mountains, and in front of my house, I have a almost 200-mile ski slope for cross-country skiing. I have we are in the middle of a ski area, which is wonderful in St. Moritz.
Right.
I do mountain biking in summer. I go jogging, I go swimming, I go sailing. These are the things I do almost on a weekly basis when I finish my work in Zurich and I come up here to the mountains to relax with my family here.
Oh, well, I know it's gorgeous, and I enjoyed every time I come there. I've enjoyed my trips with you. Um, and I think, you're probably like me. Plastic surgery is more like a hobby. We just enjoy it so much. I feel like, do you feel like somehow you were just placed in the right profession, and you feel just grateful for that? Do you feel that?
You know, plastic surgery is not work for me. It's a
Yeah.
passion. So I
Yeah.
don't go to work, actually do my hobby like you do. And we love what you're doing. And it's exciting when you do a facelift and the patient comes back and say, I love it every day. Nobody realized that I had a facelift. Everybody tells me, you look fantastic. Where have you been? Vacation, something like this. It looks natural. And the patient comes back even after 10, 15, 20 years. And she said, the best thing I did in my life was to do that facial surgery she was so scared of to do in the beginning. And I think this is something which gives us comfort, and we enjoy it when we do something which patients are, even if this is in aesthetic surgery, but I enjoy also somebody when I heal a child in a war zone and
Yeah.
the child can start working, playing again with other kids. and I see his smile and his gratitude. Or we has a leg which was amputated, and we reconstructed, and we do everything necessary. He can play football and soccer again. I mean, this is the most wonderful job we can do, and we are really blessed. We are really blessed, and we live a privileged life, we both of us.
Yeah, I mean that's really the trade. It's just it's what drive it's the driver. I know for me is that end result of having somebody with more confidence, they're happier, and for you in these war zones, somebody who's living and breathing, and that's what we're grateful for. It just makes it so worthwhile, and so that's the same sentiments that I have as well. Um, and you travel, quite a bit. Other than the going to these war zones, you also like to travel.
Yes, I like to travel. Honestly, since I'm living in the mountain, I travel less and less because I enjoy my time here in the nature with this clean air. And every morning I get out of the house and I see these huge rocks in front of me. I get so humble, and I love it. Every day there's a different day because the sunlight, everything is different. I still travel. I have to do travels because all my projects, there's about currently seven projects I have to follow. So I travel a lot in Europe and internationally. So last year I did about 150,000 miles on a plane. And I rode about 40 times the train, a 3 hour train ride up here to the mountains.
Right.
So I'm actually I've never been so mobile and on the move like
Ah,
the last 2 years. And the older I get, the more I work. This is
yeah.
actually
Well, it's enjoyable.
the sec.
How,
Yes, it's enjoyable.
how do you retire and your mind just turns to cement? I mean, this is something that we're good at, and yeah,
My father said, "I'm an art." He was an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur is an artist. Artists never retire. So this is
yeah.
my motto, and I will never retire, as you will never retire. You always do something.
Yeah, I mean, if I couldn't do what I was doing and I didn't enjoy it, I certainly would think about it. But I'm not at that point, and I don't see that in the near future at all. I just love what I do. But it's been such a pleasure talking to you, and you're so inspiring. The things that you do, and you're just not the average, amazing, fantastic plastic surgeon in the world. You just have helped so many people on so many different levels, and I just have thank you for being on our show today. This is Dr. Garth Fisher. I'm here with Dr. Enrique Steiger. This is something you don't want to miss. Story of his life. You should be in a movie, by the way. We need to find somebody to come up with that. Um, but in closing, I want to thank KCBS Odyssey, our sponsors, Cal and Mike, our producers, the entire Cutting Edge team, and of course you, the listeners. This is Dr. Garth Fisher with the Cutting Edge, and we will see you again next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Garth. Thank you, Garth, for inviting me to your show. Thank you.
Thank you so much.